Well, hey there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys have had a amazing weekend. Even though some of you might be trying to get used to the whole idea of springing forward, which I think that's technically, some people would say they're losing an hour because of daylight savings time, which honestly I don't necessarily mind, because it means here in Minnesota it's not going to get dark at 5 o'clock at night. So that's one cool thing. But what I wanted to talk about today is something. I mean, it might be a little touchy to some people, but I guess I wanted to look into it a little more, and it's that's the reason why I'm wearing this. But before I get into that, if you are new here and you love hockey, and if you love talking hockey jerseys, hockey, hockey news, listening to any new hockey news, or just hockey talk in general, I love doing that. And if you love that, it would be absolutely awesome and greatly appreciated if you would hit that subscribe button there. Also, if you want to be notified of new videos whenever I upload them, you can hit that little bell there to be notified anytime anything new is uploaded. So, I was looking into this. Now, I've been trying to do this for the last couple of days, and this might be the whole idea of publicly funded arenas is always a touchy subject, because the taxpayers are the ones who are paying. Basically, the taxpayers are the one who's paying for the arena, because even though the city, even though they say the city or the state is the one funding it, the only way they fund it is because of the taxpayers and their taxes. So there's always something that has to, come into play. Like U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis for the Minnesota Vikings. When that was agreed to, they implemented the whole idea of e-pull tabs, because we all know pull tabs, and it's a form of gambling, obviously. But they said that the money from the e-tabs is going to pay for the arena. That wasn't entirely the case, obviously. But the whole idea of public funded arenas is always such a touchy subject. Now, I'm wearing Quebec because I wanted to look into this, because we know they have the Videotron Center now. They built that in the hope that the NHL would come back to Quebec. That was the whole point of building that. Now, their old arena that the Nordiques played in, Le Colisée, they played in that from 1972 up until they left in 1995. Now, when the Nordiques were in trouble, now they had not lost money during their entire existence. It was looking like that was potentially going to change if they didn't get something done here. Now, the Canadian dollar was just absolutely horrible. When that was, you compare that to the American dollar, it's not even close. The Canadian dollar is literally almost like half the value of the American dollar. It's awful. And that was the case even back then. Well, in 1995, the Nordiques, the salaries of the players were going up. Now, Hartford went through something similar. Well, Hartford more or less, Hartford just, had kind of a bad, just had a bad owner who just, didn't really want to get anything done. But I could maybe go through that in another video. But Hartford is kind of, you can kind of say Hartford goes into this too, because of the fact that this is the drawback to not being able to get an arena deal reached, whether it's public funds, private funds, half public, half private, whatever the case may be. Calgary's been dealing with this for the last number of years. And, they keep going back and forth on what they're going to do for an arena, considering the Saddle Dome is literally falling apart right now, at least on the outside. But they needed a new arena. The Nordiques, coming into the 94-95 season, they needed a new arena. I mean, new arenas were going up, and Le Colisée it wasn't up to par. It really wasn't. It was not up to standard as to some of the newer arenas that were getting built at the time, and definitely would not be up to par on what's being built now. The Videotron Center is up to par. Well, Le Colisée, of course, they were open from 1972 to 2015. So they didn't close that arena till 20 years after the Nordiques left. Now, the Videotron Center, which was built for $370 million. Now, Quebecor Media, they basically they are the tenant or the lease they lease the building, because the arena is 50% owned by Quebec City and 50% owned by the province. Now, in 1995, Marcel Aubu, the owner at the time of the Quebec Nordiques, was trying to get this done back then in 1995. The city and the province said, no, we're not doing that. Even though he tried to explain to them, you do realize if this doesn't go through, they're going to leave. The Nordiques will leave. They are going to move if we can't come up with something. He wanted a new arena built there. He was an owner who wanted the Nordiques to stay. Now, the province, of course, said, we want the Nordiques to stay too, but yeah, we're not gonna pay for a new arena to get them to stay. Well, what did that result in? Bye-bye. Off to Colorado they went. Now, what has been the drawback to this? We've all been saying for years we would love to see this logo and this team come back. But honestly, the NHL, they have no appetite to go to Quebec. They don't have any. And it's sad. It really is sad to me, because to me it would be a great market. It's small. It's really small in comparison to some of these other markets, because there's talk, there was the rumor of Atlanta potentially getting an NHL team for a third time. Now, some people would say, Quebec's had two teams. Yeah, they had the Quebec Bulldogs back in like the 1910s. And, that was, you're talking well over 110 years ago. But then you had the Nordiques that came in 1979. But the Nordiques were not an expansion team. They were from the WHA. They came in from the WHA. They were one of the teams that the NHL brought in from the WHA. One of only four teams. It was the Quebec Nordiques, the Hartford Whalers, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Winnipeg Jets. And those were the only four that they brought in. So the NHL has never actually expanded to Quebec City. And people have been, people have wanted, they've said it's a good market, the fans will support them, which I have no doubt. I have no doubt the fans will support them. The problem is, though, I don't think the NHL has the appetite. Now, Quebecor, who is the one who's leasing the Videotron Center, they were in on the expansion process with Vegas. It was looking like we might finally get an expansion team in Quebec. But because of the Canadian dollar, I don't think the Canadian dollar in my lifetime has ever been worth diddly squat, honestly. And because of the Canadian dollar, they pulled out. It was $500 million. $500 million American, which in Canadian dollars is probably like what? Almost $1 billion? So, and they couldn't swing it. So they pulled out. And to me, honestly, that was the last chance for Quebec to ever get an NHL franchise. No team is ever going to move. As long as Gary Bettman is around, there is no NHL team that's even going to think about moving, no matter what financial situation that they're in. I mean, we've seen that with Arizona. Arizona has never made money in over 25 years in Arizona, and yet they're still there. Gary Bettman refuses to move any team, no matter what the financial problems are. Now, the Winnipeg Jets got their team back because Atlanta, they had bad ownership, and they didn't have an arena to play in. The arena at the time said, no, we don't want hockey here. So they lost the arena. So they didn't. That was a case where Gary Bettman and the NHL, they didn't have a choice. They had to move the Atlanta Thrashers. And Winnipeg was the team that stepped up and said, hey, we'll take them. And so they got them. So the Atlanta Thrashers then moved to Winnipeg. Now, this was obviously, because some people have said, why didn't Quebec try to get in on that? They didn't have that yet. They didn't have this yet. The Videotron Center, because when they moved, when the Atlanta Thrashers moved, they moved in 2011. The Videotron Center did not get approved until 2011. It would not open until 2015. So Quebec didn't get in on that because they didn't have anywhere to. I mean, they would have had to have played in Le Colisée for approximately 4 years before they ever would have played in the Videotron Center. So Quebec didn't get in on that. Which, I mean, you look back on it, and they probably should have. But it's cool that the Winnipeg Jets got a team back because they've been there. The fans, they sell out the arena. That's one of the smaller arenas in the NHL too. But they sell it out. And they love the fact that they have a team back. Now, the Videotron Center. The Videotron Center is the 7th largest arena in Canada in capacity-wise because it will hold over 18,259 people. It will hold for a hockey game. It will hold over 20,000 for concerts. It is the largest arena to not have an NHL team. Now, again, there is a lot of, good reasons for Quebec to get a team. At least us as fans, we all want this logo and jersey to come back. We would love it. I don't think it happens. The NHL is never gonna. They're hell bent on never moving. They don't want to move. They don't want to go to a small market because they honestly, I think they look at the Canadian dollar, and they look at the fact that it's awful, and they're like, so what? We're gonna, you're gonna spend, 750. I mean, at $500 million they pulled out. Expansion teams now. I mean, you just had Seattle come in at $650 million. If they expand beyond that, what's that going to be? $800 million? If Quebecor couldn't swing $500 million, they're not going to be able to swing that. So, I hate to say it, but I don't think Quebec ever gets an NHL team again. I think they'll give Atlanta. They'll give Atlanta umpteen different tries because they're a big market. They'll give Houston a try because they're a big market. Quebec is not. We all know the rivalry would be fantastic. The Nordiques and the Canadians. The rivalries were absolutely amazing. But this is the drawback to not having this done back in 1995. Because by the province saying no to Marcel Aubut and a new arena in 1995, the Quebec Nordiques left. This was done in the main reason why this was done was because they were trying to draw an NHL team back in there. Because without an NHL team, this arena is, I mean, you want to talk about losing money? During the wintertime, this place is practically empty every winter. That arena is too big to be empty. But again, the NHL to me has no appetite to go back to Quebec. And it's sad because it's a good market. But they just, this needed to be done in 1995. Because nobody thinks about that. At the time when that's going on, nobody's thinking, okay, the team moved. Well, we'll eventually get one back. It's been since 1995. They still don't have a team back there. Nor will they. It's similar to Hartford. Hartford, when they left, when their owner, Peter Karmanos, moved them out of there with really no plan, he just got them the hell out of Hartford because he didn't, again, he didn't like the city. He was hell-bent on moving them the minute he took ownership. So that's why he wouldn't work. He kept throwing all these other conditions into the city of Hartford to say, to get them to say, okay, screw it, we're not doing this. Because back in Hartford's case, they were almost ready. They had an arena deal about this close to being worked out. And then Karmanos went back to the city and said, well, I'm going to lose this amount of money during the time the arena is being built. You need to pay me for that. And that's when the city said, screw you, beat it. Don't let the doorknob hit you in the backside on the way out. And he took the Whalers, and they've been in Carolina, and they've been the Carolina Hurricanes ever since. Hartford is another case. They would be a good hockey market, I think. But they're small market. So the NHL doesn't, even though they have fans there, they'd have plenty of fans there. They don't have an appetite to go back to Hartford either. And this is the drawback when you cannot get an arena deal worked out, because this could happen in Calgary. This could happen in Calgary. Gary Bettman has already come out and said, if an arena deal isn't reached out, well, it'd be a shame, if you lost your team. It'd be a shame if we had to move this team. Now, I mean, you talk about, you know, like old school mafia tactics, well, you're not doing this. God, it'd be a shame if be a shame if something happened to your, be a shame if your business burned down, you know. I mean, that's the kind of thing that sounded like when Gary Bettman said that. And and they're still working. They're still trying to get an arena deal worked out in Calgary. And honestly, they need to, because if they don't get an arena deal worked out in Calgary, we're gonna see the same thing happen as what happened here. The Flames will move, and Calgary will probably never get another team. Calgary's been there since 1980. When did they go there? 82? 81? 82. Somewhere in there. Early 80s. 1980. Now, without an arena deal done, I think the NHL would probably move Calgary. Where would they move Calgary? Most likely, they wouldn't want Calgary moving to, say, Quebec. They would want Calgary to move somewhere in the States. Probably Houston. Houston would probably be where they would probably want to put them. But, so Calgary's got to get this thing figured out too, because this is what, this needed to happen in 1995. Because this not happening in 1995, which is kind of interesting, that in 1995, the province and the city wanted nothing to do with a new arena being built. But in 2011, that's when they came around and said, all right, we'll do this, in hopes to bring back an NHL team. It has been 12 years since that deal was approved. There's still no team in Quebec. And it's a bummer to me. I mean, I would love nothing more than to see the Nordiques come back. I wouldn't mind seeing the Whalers come back too. But small markets. So the NHL doesn't think they'll make nearly the amount of money there as they will in, say, Houston or Atlanta. But, and I hate to be the one to burst the bubble here on Quebec, because nobody would love to see the Nordiques come back. Shannon would. Shannon, the hockey guy, he'd love to see the Nordiques come back too. A lot of us would love to see the Nordiques come back. I just don't think it ever happens. I mean, they won't. They obviously won't expand there. Well, they might have expanded there if Quebecor didn't pull out. And that, to me, was the last gasp for Quebec to get a team. And the financial issues with this arena for the taxpayers of the province and the city, with no NHL team, they're losing hardcore because they don't have an NHL franchise there. And that was built strictly for an NHL team to come back. But unfortunately, I don't think it happens. And it bums me out as a fan, because I love the Nordiques. I love this jersey, love this logo. And it's just a bummer that they're not going to come back. And the NHL, I mean, I do think the NHL is kind of missing the boat a little bit about not going back there. But Gary Bettman, as long as Gary Bettman's there, the NHL is not going to go back to Quebec. And that's the other thing too, is whenever Gary retires, whoever takes over, I don't think they're going to have the appetite to go to Quebec either. Because, for the owners right now, it's all about making more money. We need more lead revenue. We need all that lead revenue. But you're sacrificing a fan base that would be absolutely rabid to have their team back. But the NHL would rather contemplate going to Atlanta for a third time just because of the market size. So that's kind of my little rant, so to speak, on this. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Your guys' opinion, does Quebec ever get a team back? Whether it's expansion, moving, or are they going to have to wait until Gary Bettman either drops dead or finally decides, okay, I'm done? Then maybe does Quebec get a chance at getting back into the NHL? I'd love to know what you guys think about that. But overall, this was just, the drawbacks to not having a new arena deal worked out. Whether privately or publicly. Because this is the risk you run. You could be a great market. Small market or not, you could be a great market. But if you don't get that arena deal worked out and you lose your team, this is the risk you run. You may never get a team back. So, I'd love to know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Again, I will leave the link to the Discord in the description. And again, in the Discord, be respectful, don't be rude, and stick to hockey talk. If you want to be a disrespectful prick, well, sorry, you're going to get booted. So, we'd love to have you in the Discord. Just stick to hockey talk and be nice. But again, let me know what you guys think of this in the comments section below. And hit like and subscribe if you have not done so already. Hit that little bell too if you want to be notified of any new videos that I upload. And yeah, it might be contentious, but sometimes you just got to get the arena deal worked out. Because if you don't, you may never get your team back. I'll see you guys later.